Hi everyone, welcome back. Obviously, apologies, it's been a week or so since we've had an actual video like this done to review or stuff. Obviously, we had the live streams, of course, for those World Cup group stage games, but we'll delve more into that for our tea break episode in a few days. We're back with the preview, so obviously apologies that we missed last week, of course, but I think we explained in the live stream for those of you who turned up. It was just really tiring doing all those long live streams for cricket games, and we needed a bit of a break rather than to constantly sit there and do like another hour-long review. So we skipped last week, but Bayern won comfortably last week. St. Pauli got beaten comfortably. That and along with other results. So we delved straight into this week, of course. How are you, first of all, Ben? A good week for you for one of your three teams, at least.
It certainly was, and as I mentioned to you this morning, I actually stayed up for the entire night just to watch that game, and I'm so glad I did. It was 5:30 this morning by the time I switched off, but I was going to try and get maybe a couple of hours sleep in, but I thought, fuck it, I'll just stay up and watch it. As you know, I do stay up pretty late, so fantastic, yeah, really good result, and I'll cover it more as we go along and we get to our game, but yeah, the Bays I'm a little bit sort of concerned about, but they're still above water, and I'm not going to talk about the other game until later on because I've got a bit to unpack with regards to that one, but obviously the footy season's about to kick off next week as well, so I'm more looking forward to that than most of the other results, to be fair.
You're saying stuff is kicking off soon, yeah. But yeah, we won't waste any more time. We'll jump straight into the review of this week, and we'll jump straight into it. We always do that Friday night game. Bit of a non-event, really. Mainz drawing 1-1 with Hamburg. A good point for both of them, all things considered. Maybe you could say Hamburg probably would have wanted to win, considering they had a lot better chances throughout the game. But look, Mainz held their own. A fantastic finish from Amiri. It's good to see him starting to find the net again and find some form again. I've always said when he's been scoring, they've been playing better and getting better results. And, it's another solid performance really under Fischer, which will just continue to carry them up the table and closer to safety with each passing week. And yeah, from my perspective, for Hamburg's sake, they maybe probably should have done a bit more with the chances that they had, but look, a point's still not bad away from home for them. It still takes them further away from that relegation zone, which is ultimately their goal, you'd imagine, this season. How did you see that performance from your rivals? Because we've got a lot to talk about from one of your other rival teams in another league, I guess, in this review, don't we, Ben?
We do, and we'll get to that. Look, I think it's a pretty fair result, and I guess it ties in nicely with the real sort of openness now of that sort of bottom 7 or 8 now, and how close everyone is. Mostly everyone is, as I said, aside from a couple of teams that are really now pretty much cut adrift, just about. But I think yeah, Mainz have, as we've talked about on this podcast, have really shown a lot of fight since pre and post winter break, and getting some really good results. Hamburg are probably similar as well. They've been up and down a little bit, but I think a point each is a pretty fair result. And I guess both sides are maybe looking to sort of keep consolidating, picking up points to sort of not be dragged into that sort of scrap further down the table that some other teams are currently in.
Yeah. Look, I'm just looking at the table now. The point takes Hamburg to 26 points. Mainz, they're not out of it yet. They're, with other results this week, they're still in that kind of potential conversation, but the way I see it, with the way they've been playing since the new year, I don't think that they're just going to slip down. Look, we've been proven wrong about this time and time again this season, but I just think they're just going to keep steadily picking up points and maybe not pull themselves miles clear, but they'll keep themselves above enough that they might not, that they'll probably, even though it might be maybe a result might go against them, they'll slip back towards it. I think overall they'll probably keep themselves just about near enough to stay up in the end.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at below them as well, on the form there, on the level and the difference. I just think that can I really see them catching Mainz even at this point, even though there's just 2 to 3 points in it. No, not really. But yeah, not really much else happened from in that game, really, was it? It was just
Nah,
a very sort of...
I was going to say, I think Hamburg would probably be the happier of the two, looking at the table, from my end as well. Hamburg on 26 points, Mainz on 22, and obviously Gladbach in there as well. Some of those teams did drop points or didn't pick up any as well. So I guess from that point of view, you got to take your opportunities, whatever that looks like, especially on a weekend where your rivals, direct rivals, may have not been as fortunate as to get anything from their games.
I mean, look, speaking of teams around them who did and didn't pick up points, that takes us nicely onto that Augsburg-Wolfsburg game. Wolfsburg, once again, from a position of strength in the game, throwing it all away to lose. A brilliant late turnaround from Augsburg. Maybe kick-started by the fact that at 2-1 up, one of your main centre-backs is doing his best, like, volleyball impersonation in the centre of the penalty box. And then from that resulting penalty, Augsburg go ahead and get themselves the winner. But yeah, I mean, look, we're talking mainly about this game and the fact that, like, that's shocking from Favreau, isn't it? Your team's in a relegation scrap. You're playing a team who are in and around the same area of the table, and aren't anymore after that win. Of course, Augsburg have moved up into 10th now. And 2-1 up in your team, and you're just flailing your hands around like some madman in the middle of the penalty box. It's a bit dumb, if I'm being honest. I mean, how do you see it?
Oh, just silly, especially when, as we just said, results are really starting to count even more now. And if you're not picking up points against teams around you, even Augsburg, who are a little bit higher up than Wolfsburg at the moment, home form is where it counts, and you've really got to start making your home form count.
Yeah. Exactly.
And to lose in injury time, Elvis Rex Bachai scoring there, Gregoric with that penalty.
Yeah.
Just shocking, really. Sums up their season so far.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, look, Wolfsburg have been, like, when Daniel Bauer initially took over, it looked like they were going to find a bit of form, but they've completely slipped back. It's four defeats in their last 5 league matches now, so they're in terrible form at the moment. The only other one of those games was a draw last week. So, look, I mean, conversely, on the other side of it, Augsburg have won 4 of their last 5. So, I mean, look, the difference there between those two teams over the last few games, it's not looking good for Wolfsburg, and especially this game, as I said, in the position of strength that they were at that when they were 2-1 up. I thought they were probably going to go on at least get a point from it, but they just completely collapsed. And look, they're only a point outside the relegation zone now, and they're only above you guys on goal difference as well. So they're really in the mix right now. There's no hiding the fact that they're in trouble if they don't find some form in these latter parts of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was secretly hoping for a 3-0 win last night, just to sort of work out the permutations of could we leapfrog them with that sort of result. But alas, I mean, we, as you said at the start, we got belted 4-0 last week, and that didn't help us. But I guess it comes down to, like I said, home form, but also that goal difference for some of these teams, and Wolfsburg is one of them. It's going to start counting, pretty soon as well. With still plenty of games left to play.
Yeah, exactly. On to another 3-2 win this week. My team, I mean, look, we made it difficult for ourselves. From a position of 3-0 up and looking very comfortable against a very average-looking Frankfurt side, we, all of a sudden, we just basically put them right back in the game, essentially. And look, I know we still got the win, win to win, and in the context of another game we'll talk about coming up this same week, it puts us further clear at the top of a massive game now in the Der Klassiker to come next week, which could potentially decide the title almost, not mathematically of course, but theoretically. But yeah, look, more on our game against Frankfurt. Look, I thought, we got a extreme touch of good fortune. Carlos Santos, I don't know what he's doing. I mean, look, the shot's well placed from Pavlovic, but I mean, come on. Goalkeepers have to be saving those shots. They really do, not let alone letting them right through their body and into the back of the net. we'll talk about another goalkeeper doing something similar later this week in this review. But yeah, look, that put us in front, and then we did what we did best: hit them immediately after Harry Kane with the flick on from the corner from Stanisic. Made it 2-0. We were comfortable at half time. Kane got his third in the second, about midway through the second half. 3-0 up, I thought it was going to be comfortable. 3-0 maybe like last week, or maybe 4 or 5, like we have been known to do a few times this season. But yeah, as I said, from nowhere we completely handed the impetus back to Frankfurt. Kalimuendo coming on for them in the second half, I thought was a fantastic substitution, because he completely gave them a different avenue to goal and posed some actual threat to us that they just weren't posing against us in that first half. And yeah, look, from that position of strength, then all of a sudden, Harry Kane unfortunately gives away the penalty. I'm not saying he meant anything by it, but obviously a tackle's a tackle. When it's in the box, it's going to be a penalty. And even at 3-1, I thought we were comfortable. It was just when all of a sudden, Kimmich did the most uncharacteristic pass back across the box. Kim was completely caught unawares, and then Kalimuendo's just there closing him down to bundle the ball in for 3-2, and then all of a sudden, we're looking at this game with one goal in it, and the fact that Dortmund, potentially to be breathing down our necks, just thinking, hold on, this isn't in the script. But thankfully we held out to keep ourselves in front and win the game. But it was a lot closer than it really should have been, in my opinion.
Definitely a nervy sort of last 5 minutes or so for you guys, and probably not something that you guys have been used to this season or even in previous years. Came with a brace, and Kalimuendo, as you said, pretty inspired substitution. Jonathan Burkhardt just doing what he does best. So
that's big for Frankfurt. His return from injury is.
Yeah.
Hit the post as well. Probably could have had a double in that second half. So hopefully we can just fix up and focus, because we've got a massive game next week, of course, against Dortmund, which really is now, a potential theoretical title decider, as I said. It was good to see Musiala get his first start. Really, I think it might have been his first start since his return from injury. He's had a few appearances off the bench since before this match, but it was good to see him getting back in the starting lineup. I thought it was definitely his best performance since returning from injury, so it looks like it's taken a bit of time to kind of find himself again, so that is one big uptick for us. But yeah, look, a lot closer than it needed to be, but at this stage of the season, when you're in a title race or a relegation battle or in a top 4 race, wins are wins, and you'll take them any way you can.
Absolutely.
But speaking of taking wins any way you can, Union will definitely take their one. Let's be honest with that, and I will as well.
Yeah.
I know Leverkusen are nowhere near us. But they are continuing to find it difficult as they fight into that top 4. Because I believe they're still 6th at the moment after that defeat. Yep, they are. And the gap between them and the teams below them is starting to narrow slightly, as the gap between those and the teams above them is starting to widen slightly. But yeah, look, fantastic win for Union. A great way for them to re-find some home form again of late.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just a brilliant win for Union. How did you see it?
Oh, look, I think having seen some of Leverkusen last week, obviously, and being sort of stock standard impressed by them, as in what you knew what you were going to get from them at home, I was actually pleasantly surprised to see Union get the win. Obviously we've talked about their form being a bit up and down, especially at home, struggling to pick up points here and there. But I think it's a bit of a reminder to those sides around them that, hey, we still have ambitions of finishing in the top half of the league. And this win will only sort of help that, and hopefully for their sake, because I do like Union. I like their sort of ground and their fans. They have a really great atmosphere there. In Berlin, so hopefully it's a bit of a springboard for them to sort of rediscover that consistency, I guess, and I guess where that takes them, if they can, who knows.
It's a goal from Rani Kadira, of course. It's
quality finish too. Nice little dink over the Yeah.
Finished. He scored a couple of goals for them now this season. To be fair, the veteran, I guess you could call him, has. But yeah, I mean, look, handy little source of goals from their midfield really has proved to be, and look, they just dug in, held in. Leverkusen, as you'd expect, kind of through the kitchen sink it. Like for most of the second half, I mean, Patrick Schick probably should have scored with that header from close range. They had a couple more chances that you'd imagine on any other day they would have taken, but the shooting boots that they had last week against you guys were just not there today for them. I mean, look, they're in trouble. I'd say Leverkusen, if their aspirations are to continue to get into the Champions League for next season as well. They're not in a great place right now. They're currently 39 points. They're currently 4 points off fourth place. So they're not in a great position right now. They've got to find a way to kind of get some consistency. Look, that being said, it is their first defeat in their last 5 games.
Yeah.
But they haven't won back-to-back games in their last 3. So they need to find themselves some form again, before the gap gets bigger between them and the top 4. But I mean, look, moving on to the next game, speaking of a team who are currently right in the top 4, who have slipped back a bit recently. Apologies to the fans who had such a good run of it since we started our podcast. Köln holding Hoffenheim to a 2-2 draw, but I mean, the main talking point of this was the opening goal of the game. I mean, what a fucking goal from Ragnar Ache. Like,
unbelievable.
I mean, that is an absolute goal of a season contender bomb.
Yeah,
that is.
That's going around the world. It certainly went here. For me, this was a bit of a tale of two players in this game, and they're both wearing the same jersey. It was Ragnar Ache for the goal, but also Said Al-Mala, his first goal I think in 6 games, and getting back on the score sheet after 63 minutes to sort of level things up. And it was a bit of a surprise that neither side could break the deadlock after that, still with nearly half an hour left to play. But that goal from Ragnar Ache, fucking hell, that's as you know, I watch a lot of football and I've seen a lot of quality goals over time, but that's probably one of the best bicycle kicks I've ever seen. There's
two I've seen that are better. One as both United related. One of them obviously the rude one against City back in 2011 in the derby. I mean, that, even though he shinned it, that was just a top quality one, and to do it in a derby. And the other one, bizarrely enough, was a couple of seasons ago at Goodison Park when Garnacho pulled an absolute worldie out of nowhere against Everton.
Yeah,
as much as I hate that self-righteous twat these days, I still have to admit it was a fucking phenomenal goal.
It was, and for me, I guess in terms of comparison, I've mentioned this moment to you previously. It was absolutely better. It was streets ahead of the Stan Collymore bicycle goal he scored for Bradford against Leeds in, I think it was 2001.
I didn't know. About that one. I mean, look, I only know.
Check it out on YouTube. This is the clips. But anyway, Martin Tyler doesn't get up for too many sort of moments these days, but he did for that from memory. But this was great. But I guess from Hoffenheim's point of view, I mean, Kramaric on the score sheet again.
What about you're a City fan? What about the Alex Terra one against Perth at NIP?
You've just reminded me of that. Thank you for that. That's like a lifetime ago. That was pretty good too, but this was better. So double Terra size. No offense to Alex Terra, but certainly the elevation I think was better. But as I was saying with Hoffenheim, look, I think they would have been disappointed not to take all 3 points. I think just given their form.
We're just doing bicycle kicks all now. I just remembered another one you guys scored. Nick Kalmar. Nick Kalmar got one as well. I'm not sure if that was at Albury or not, but that might have been that game.
Might have been.
Anyway,
I learned. We digest. Digress. Digest. I think Hoffenheim would have been disappointed not to take all 3 points, but it's an important point for Köln. Looking at the table, they're in that sort of that bracket of Hamburg to Mainz to Gladbach in terms of sort of trying to propel themselves further up the table, and those sort of points count no matter how you get them. Some of these teams are going to come up against these higher placed sides. We saw it with St. Pauli against Stuttgart the other week. And this is another example. There's going to be this bracket of teams that are going to take it right up to the the Champions League seekers.
Yeah. I mean, Hoffenheim are right in there. Excuse me. Hoffenheim are right in there.
Still third, yeah.
Even though that wasn't as good a performance, I mean, they did get very lucky. That Kramaric goal, the ball just crossed the line, of course. It's kind of funny watching the replay of it because no one in the crowd except Hoffenheim players seemed to have thought they'd scored, and it was kind of funny because even when they were told by the referee, you could just see they're running off celebrating. The Cologne players still think it's play on, and even the commentator did. So it was kind of funny that, but good point for Köln. I think Hoffenheim will at least be, not a terrible point for them. They're still 3 points clear of Stuttgart anyway, and the gap between them and Dortmund isn't unheard of at this point. It's not 6 points. It's not that bad. They still potentially could creep up into second depending how Dortmund end their season. Speaking of Dortmund, Leipzig did us a massive favour, and they should have. And they almost won. I don't say they should have won because fair credit to Dortmund to come back from 2 down to get a point from that. But look, it's a point which I'm checking the tables now. We're 8 points clear and we play them next week. So if we win in Der Klassiker next week, that's an 11-point gap heading into at the beginning of March. Would you say at that point it's practically all but done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that, and I guess probably lucky for Dortmund to even get a point. Looking at Silva scoring in stoppage time.
Look, I've known about Fabio Silva for years since he got signed to Wolves back in the 2020-2021 season, and how average he was, and he had a spell at Rangers after that, and now he's obviously got at Dortmund. Great dramatic late equaliser. It's his first Bundesliga goal, of course. I mean, look, he's not that great. Let's be honest. Wolves fans will attest will know the fact that Fabio Silva is an absolutely useless striker. I'm not sure if he was particularly good at Rangers either. And he hasn't been. He's been a presence for Dortmund, but as a goal-scoring threat, obviously apart from this, maybe he's going to kick on from this. I mean, he could score a hat-trick next week and beat us potentially for all I know. Probably not, but look, good for him to get off the mark in the league. I can't remember the last time I've seen him score a goal in the league because he scored that infrequently in the 2 or so seasons he was at Wolves. So yeah. But look, for Leipzig's sake, it's another fantastic, another strong performance from them, especially being 2-0 up and how dominant they were early on. Jan Diamande, class again, out wide for them, setting up having a big part of playing both of Baumgartner's goals, of course. Just really good all round from Leipzig, and just a spirited comeback from Dortmund, really. So look, a share of the points are probably fair from here, and I'm happy, of course, because it's allowed us to open a gap on them even further now ahead of their Klassiker, because I'm not going to lie, over the last couple of weeks I was getting a bit frustrated that every time we won, Dortmund would just constantly keep winning. So look, they've dropped points from week 1 finally, so I really hope we can now go and beat them next week. But yeah, how did you see that one?
Well, I mean, like I said before, Dortmund incredibly lucky to get anything out of it. Christoph Baumgartner with the double in the first half, setting them up nicely. Romelu own goal probably didn't help Leipzig's cause, but I mean, great for you guys, the fact that neither of them could take all 3. But I think for those two, Leipzig we know have sort of been a little bit vulnerable at different times this year, haven't played their best. Dortmund, similar against probably opposition that they think they would beat quite convincingly. So it's probably not a surprise to me that two of the heavyweights played out of stalemate, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, so we'll move on to the 3 Sunday games, which is weird this week. So we'll move on to those ones now. Starting with Freiburg versus Gladbach, I was disappointed with Gladbach really in this one. I thought this was the first time in a long time they had a very poor performance. Look, Freiburg wholeheartedly deserved their win. But I just thought, look, it could have been 2-2. Obviously, Tabakovic was marginally offside. He did still manage to get himself on the score sheet afterwards, of course, but it turned out to be a cancellation in the end. But yeah, overall, I think Freiburg definitely deserved that win. And they're just any chance that Leverkusen drop points, Freiburg are just starting to creep closer. Just ever so slightly they are. You know, the gap is 6 points now between them and Leverkusen in 6th.
Yeah.
Could it happen that Freiburg could potentially sneak in there come the end of the season?
It's possible. It's still possible, yeah.
At times this season they are very good. They're there to get big wins against big teams. You know, Gladbach obviously. I mean, they've started to slip back a bit. They're winless in 5, 3 defeats and 2 draws in those last 5 as well. They are now back within 3 points essentially of that relegation zone, 2 points of you guys, of course, in that playoff spot at the moment. Are they slipping back a bit, Gladbach? That's the question.
Yeah, I think they are a little bit, and look, they're not the only side that's sort of going through that at the moment, but I think, yeah, definitely a missed opportunity there, but Freiburg, sort of just, they're 7th for a reason, I guess, and slowly sort of creeping up to that last European spot. And it's games like this where you've just got to do what you need to do and get the win. But I mean, good to see Tabakovic on the score sheet again. I think he's been one of the better players for Gladbach this season. As we said, their form's been a little bit up and down as well.
Yeah, he has. I mean, look, I'm just going to check the stats now. How many goals? That's his 10th. That was, of course, in the league this season. So he's not. Excluding Harry Kane's 28 and Luis Diaz's 13, or even just excluding Harry Kane's 28, Tabakovic is only 3 goals behind Diaz. So, and if we're not counting Bayern players, he's only 2 games. He's 2 goals behind Dennis Sundav. So yeah, look, it's not. He's having a good season, of course, but Heidenheim, Gladbach have to just watch it a bit because they don't want to pull themselves back. They don't want to slip completely back into that mix. They're 3 points or 2 points if we're counting the playoff spot clear at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, it is within a game, so they are starting to hit that sort of territory. So they've got Union next week again. Union finding form, that could be another difficult one for them. Of course, and then they've got us afterwards. So look, they've still got tough games ahead of them.
They're one of a number of teams that could easily still get dragged right into that relegation scrap. So yeah, they've got to they've just got to continue to play well and keep picking up points, as do a number of sides, and one of those is actually the next team that we'll next 2 teams we'll talk about.
Us into this next game then.
So yeah, as I said, I basically pulled an all-nighter for this one, and I'm so glad I did. It was St. Pauli, the Battle of the Basement. So St. Pauli overcoming Werder Bremen 2-1. Look, the first half wasn't all that impressive. It was probably both sides sort of trying to work each other out, and both keepers sort of had a little bit to do. Nicola Vasil was good, but Mio Backhouse is the guy I just want to talk about. The first goal to St. Pauli to go 1-0 up was Hulk Val. Now, as you know, Chester defenders don't score that often. I think in regular circumstances he wouldn't have scored. Basically, Mio Backhouse sort of leant down to collect it, and obviously the one little patch on the goal line or near goal line adjacent where there's no grass, there'd been rain since the start of the game, at least from as long as I tuned in.
Let's be real. Yeah. There's still no excuses for that poor goal.
Oh no, I don't think so either. But I'm certainly not complaining because I was sort of concerned that we were going to concede. We've conceded in multiple games this season against sides like this, and I think it was just really good for us to actually take the advantage. And I said to you all week, we have to win this game. It's not a case of I hope we win. Given where the table is now, and that really sort of condensed group of teams, and how close we are, and now the playoff spot to Hamburg is 2 games and goal difference. Even Mainz is less than a game, so it was really important. And I think, looking at the equaliser from Milosevic, who came off the bench, Nikola Vasil was at it again. Tried to sort of flick across out of the way and basically hit his hit his own player in the chest, I'm pretty sure, if I have a look at the replay. Bit of a goal mass scramble, and unfortunately Milosevic for them equalised them, and they probably deserved it. They worked hard, but the one thing I was really proud of Pauli was they never gave up.
They were definitely resilient, which is which hasn't happened too often this season.
No, and they were able to break down Bremen as well, and really provide some really good counter-attacking run, and that's something that the Bremen sort of haven't had going their way this season. We've seen that other teams have been able to sort of score against them with reasonable ease.
Yeah.
But Joel Fajita scored his first Bundesliga goal, and look, I'm stoked for him. He's had a really good year with us.
I mean, it was a very
I think he missed the last couple of games. It was a great finish.
Hard and low across the
nice little back cut in, and it was terrific play, just really smart football. But the usual suspects. But I think the key thing I'll point out on this game is I think it's actually probably the best lineup I reckon that we've had bench and starting 11 that we've had in a while. I'd say probably maybe even Heidenheim, or maybe even before Christmas break.
Yeah.
Just everyone was back. Eric Smith was back. Jackson Irvine played most of the game. He got a knock late on and came off, but Cars came off after I think about an hour. Pereira Lage came off the bench as well and was doing some really good things.
It's really just a time who you're missing then at this point, isn't it? Really.
Jones is going to be out, but you already know my thoughts on him.
Yeah.
It's great that he's fast, but if he can't finish, I just think that there's question marks. But I think really what this gives is a stepping stone. I mean, you remember that I said a few weeks ago I didn't know where the light at the end of the tunnel for survival was coming from. We've got it now. I spoke to my Schalke mate Steve, if you're watching, shout out, and he said we've got spirit, and I totally agree. Last week was a mulligan. I copped that. That's fine. We move on. But I had a look at the upcoming games, and I think we've got you guys in about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Just about
next, so that's
I was just going to say, just about every one of those games, I think we could get some sort of result from. Maybe not all of them, but I'm not that confident.
My reaction when you said that.
Hey, I've got to have belief now, but I think it's a credit to Blessing and the players for that buy-in. Really, I've seen him the last couple of games we've won. Really up and about and delivering that message to them really well. But the home form, we talked before about how important home form is now, and we're starting finally after that. What was it? 9 games without a win. 10. 10. Yep, 10 in a row. We're starting to make that ground a fortress now. That the Millentor are a fortress and really difficult to play at. But what did you take out of this one?
I mean, look, I've been looking at the table, and it was another strong performance from you at home to back up that win at home against Stuttgart a few weeks back. And most importantly, I mean, the Stuttgart win was great, but most importantly about this one, when you're down the bottom and you're in a relegation fight, if you can beat the teams in the same, in and around the same area,
absolutely spot on.
Beating Stuttgart's great, obviously, but beating Bremen is even bigger for you. Obviously,
it means nothing if you can't back it up against those sides. Absolutely,
defeats the Leverkusen defeat. When you're down the bottom, you're going to lose games here and there. It's always going to happen.
Yeah.
With the exception of some teams going on crazy runs of form, but the key thing is if you can beat the teams that are in around you, that means you're taking points off them, you're gaining the points yourself, and that's going to make it even better for you, because you could beat, theoretically, you could play, let's say, Hoffenheim next week, beat them. Let's see, who would Bremen are playing Heidenheim? That's a bad example. Let's say Wolfsburg, for example. Who are Wolfsburg playing next week? Wolfsburg playing Stuttgart, right? You could beat Hoffenheim next week, so well and good, but then Wolfsburg could beat Stuttgart. So, but if you were playing Wolfsburg and you beat Wolfsburg, you'd be 3 points clear of them, whereas if that happened, what I just said, they would still be ahead of you on goal difference. So it matters a lot to beat the teams around you. And I'm also
absolutely.
Not sure if you're aware of this, but of the bottom 5 teams, so Gladbach, Wolfsburg, you guys, Bremen and Heidenheim, over the last 5 games, you've actually got the best form. not only that, you're the only team over the last 5 games to have won a game of those bottom 5 teams, and you've won 2, of course. So if there's anything to give you reason for optimism, for the first time maybe this entire season, maybe apart from the first 4 weeks or so, you are a form team for that kind of bottom group of 5 teams. Obviously there's still a long way to go, and we saw what happened earlier this season when you lost 10 games on the bounce in the league, which is what put you in this position. And the other point I was going to make before we move on to the final game of this round in the Bundesliga is it would be good if you can stay up. Obviously, Blessing can keep you up, and I think it would be the perfect way for him to kind of say goodbye. Like, look, I've kept you up twice
I agree.
in the Bundesliga, but now we need a manager who can give us some better football.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I also think that comes with the caveat of
I still don't see this football being successful enough long term to just, because you know what it's like in football, like. You can't just constantly stay up. A team can't stay up constantly finishing just outside the relegation zone. Eventually they'll slip. Eventually they'll fall. We're seeing it this season with Heidenheim, of course. Like they've had last season. I mean, there's only a 3rd season as well, of course, but Europe, and then last season they escaped from the playoffs, and now this season it looks like they're going to fall right through the cracks. And speaking of Heidenheim, I think it's a perfect way to finish off the Bundesliga section of this video, of this week's review, with that game against Stuttgart, of course, the 3-3 between the two of them. I mean, how did you see that game?
Yeah, Undav on the score sheet once again in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlucky for Heidenheim. I think we had some technical difficulties there, but I'm assuming we're on to that last game now. Yep.
All good.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. So, but I think just that very last point is you're absolutely right on what you were saying there. I think he's got to be moved on, but I also think they've got to invest in a decent striker next season. Whoever that new manager is. Exactly.
And Gilavogi last season. You've had a bad run of good strikers who were injury prone. So
definitely. But I mean, we'll move on to the final game, and that was, as I was just saying, that was Heidenheim drawing with Stuttgart, which was actually a really surprising result for mine. But a good result for Heidenheim, I guess, as well.
I mean, look, at this point, they've got to win games at this point. It's still good that they haven't lost, and they've stopped their run of defeats, which was starting to get a little concerning for them. But I'm looking at the table now. I mean, look, 14 points. They're well adrift now of that playoff space. That's 6 points now between them and you. I mean, look, they've got to win games now at this point. Draws aren't going to cut it. If they're going to be serious about staying up. Like, look, I'm taking nothing away. I'm not insulting Heidenheim, the team or the fans. It was incredible performance, and they were unlucky. I get not unlucky, but I just get unfortunate, I guess, to not come away with a well-deserved win, which what would have been a well-deserved win there. Of course, Dennis Undav, as he so often has been this season, the saviour and the man of the moment for Stuttgart, popping up with that late equaliser. But look, 6-goal thriller, really, wasn't it, in Heidenheim? I mean, look, it was an incredible game of football, and the drama in it as well, with the penalty that wasn't given, and then Stuttgart go up the other end and score, and then that goal gets called back, and then Heidenheim get their penalty on review, and that puts them in front 2-1 at that point. It was just a crazy game of football, wasn't it?
It was ridiculous, and then the guy I mentioned just before, who's been off the score sheet for a while, is Dennis Undav, and I guess it was probably cruel, I guess, in a way that Heidenheim couldn't hang on, given how well they played, particularly in that second half. But just the cream with their sides rises to the top, and I mean they were behind with through Furyk after 5 minutes, and bottom sides like that can't afford to do that. And I guess it already puts it, and we've done that before this year as well. Good sides find a way to sort of get the jump on you early, and from there it's really hard to sort of get back into the game. But to Heidenheim's credit, they did. But I absolutely agree that draws aren't going to, and honourable draws and whatnot, aren't going to cut it right now. They've got to start getting maximum points, and it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, we'll wrap up the Bundesliga section with that, and of course, obviously, if you guys have enjoyed this so far and you're watching this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. As always, we'll swiftly move on to the A-League portion of this, where the league is really starting to take shape a little more than what it probably has in recent times. That Friday night game was a massacre at Coopers, wasn't it? Adelaide 4, Perth Glory 0. Perth have just completely fell backwards now. They're like week on, week out, they're slipping further and further away from that top 6. Adelaide are making a stronger and stronger case for being right in the top 6 comfortably at this point. It was another really impressive goal scoring performance from them. Won a game where Perth just looked second best from the start to the finish, essentially. Some great goals. Juan Muniz, great free kick. Johnny Yole, great goal from outside the box himself as well. Luke Dizelle with a great finish that late on to make it 4-0. I mean, there was a tap in between that, of course, but I mean, like, it was just one way really for Adelaide, wasn't it, that game?
Pardon me, it certainly was, and I think it probably sort of takes a bit of the shine off what the Glory have done in the last few weeks, but good for Adelaide. You know, we've talked about them being up and down with their form and dropping points, especially at Fortress Coopers, as I call it, having been there once, and not really enjoying it. But they would have been just happy just to get maximum points, but also in the fashion that they did with a comfortable 4-0 win.
Yeah, exactly that, and obviously they're level on points with us at the moment, just behind us on goal difference. It's just so tight in that top 6, unless you're in the top 2 spots, of course. Speaking of a team who are in the top 2 spots, there was an absolute massacre in Wellington. That's for certain. One that's caused Giancarlo Italiano, of course, to resign from his position as Wellington Phoenix manager. I mean, look, we know going into this, Wellington's record in the New Zealand derby since Auckland came in last season has been pretty much abysmal. They haven't picked up a single point in any of their meetings, I believe. But this one was just ridiculous, wasn't it?
Brutal, yeah.
I mean, the way it started kind of set the tone. I mean, look, we've seen some absolute howlers from goalkeepers in both the Bundesliga and A-League this season many a time, but I mean, look, what the hell was Josh Oluwayemi doing there? Like, how far out do you seriously need to be as a goalkeeper? How you really need to be standing on the edge or just outside your box at all times? Like, what is he doing when he comes running out to try and head the ball almost? Because it looked like he tried to meet the ball on the full outside the box and head it clear. Like, it's just horrific what he did there.
Yeah, I've just played it back and it looks even worse now. But I mean, to spare his feelings, I guess he's not the only keeper that was sort of too far out this weekend. So, but yeah, the fact that it sort of came off his head, just sort of summed up the game really. And I did see Chiefy's press conference at the end of the game, and I feel for the guy. He's been a great addition to the league since he came in and took over at Wellington, and just can't blame him at all for sort of falling on his sword and having the courage to resign after such a performance like that. It takes a lot of guts, I think.
It just sums up their season really. They're not having a good season again. Last season they struggled, of course, as well. Auckland with that goal, basically, Auckland ran away with it from there. Jesse Randall getting himself on the score sheet again, another fantastic finish from him. Lachlan Brook with another fantastic finish for himself as well. It was basically, if that Adelaide Perth game was a massacre, then this was a full-on slaughterhouse that Auckland set up at the Kings Inn on Saturday. Like, it was just complete. As far as Derby results go, like, I've seen Sydney beat Wanderers 5-0 before them beaten 4-1 a couple of weeks ago, of course. Obviously, you have some fond memories of pumping Melbourne victories 7-0 and 6-0 in the same season a couple of seasons ago. So, the league is no stranger to results like this, of course, over the past, even in this present day. And look, Auckland starting to look like themselves a bit again after a very average run throughout the Christmas period and into January. Even though they probably got lucky to get that point against us in the week before, a statement-making win as they continue to just try and put some pressure on Newcastle, just to stop them running away with it, obviously at the top of the table. We'll move on then to the next game of the round. That was our game against Brisbane. Can you believe it's taken until the 21st of February 2026 in the 25-26 season, Ben, for us to play Brisbane Roar for the first time this season?
That's crazy stat.
Fixturing, right, and how lackluster the A-League group are fixturing and all that stuff.
We've spoken in depth about the craziness of the fixturing from that particular stat to, City having 7 home games in a row over Christmas, New Year. It's just baffling, really.
Yeah. But look, about the game itself, I was impressed with our performance. Very professional in the end. I didn't really feel that Brisbane offered too much of a threat, really, throughout most of the game, as their poor run of form continues that they've been on, and they are really sliding further and further down the table, just like Perth, with each passing week. We were relatively comfortable throughout. Once again, it was another goal. It was another game where we were just struggling to score goals in the first half. I don't know what it is about this team. We just cannot score first half goals. But we kept the pressure on throughout. And look, one man I want to talk about, someone who's really starting to come into his own in our team, Thiago Quintal. What a performance again from him. A great goal as well to go with it. That's his 4th of the season now. He's really stepped up, especially since the new year. He's starting to become a real core member of this kind of attacking midfield setup that Tale has in the team. And I did like the way he lined up the team today, playing Ocon Exer as the 6 and telling him to just kind of hold that position himself, and allowing us to play a more attacking midfield in front of him with Quintal, with Ahmet Arslan in there, Stamatolopoulos in front of him, who I thought probably had his best performance in the 3 games he's played since joining us now. Quite busy, probably should have taken a couple of his chances better, if I'm being honest, but looks like he's starting to gel a bit now with the team. Same with Ahmet Arslan, a very good performance from him. Joe Lawley's hopefully his fitness starts to continue to pick up here. It's his first start, I believe, since his return from injury, or second start, and he's starting to look a bit sharper again. A very professional performance from us. Not much to write home from Brisbane's point of view. I mean, Devon Ishmael's had a couple of good saves towards the end, but really, apart from that, a very comfortable, even though the scoreline doesn't look comfortable, 1-0 win from us. I mean, how did you see that game from us?
Pretty clinical, I guess. It's another one of those results where you sort of just do what you need to do.
I mean, clinical, because we didn't waste a lot of chances.
Well, I didn't see the game, so just going by highlights and whatnot. But and Raw's form's sort of been pretty ordinary, really, of late. So I mean, could they have maybe taken a point? We don't know, but I mean, I guess for you guys looking at the table,
5 for them, that is.
Well, there you go. That exactly. But it puts keeps you guys in 3rd spot. Auckland a game clear, but obviously a level on points with Adelaide United. So and victory, or as I call them, the guys from the other side of town, or whatever I said the other night, who we'll get to later on, unfortunately. But I mean, in terms of you guys, just another win to sort of propel you guys towards, hopefully, from your sake, what's a top 2 finish.
Yeah, exactly. So good to get back on winning ways. We need to find consistency, though. We've got Wellington away next week. Good opportunity to win away. We usually struggle at Wellington, but they're managerless. I'm not sure if they're going to obviously have a new manager by then.
I think they do. I think I saw today that
okay,
I think it's Greenacre. I think
Oh, is it Chris Greenacre? Is he interim? Or is he
interim. I think I saw.
Yeah, that's my imagine. So we usually struggle at Wellington, so I'm not just going to straight out say we're going to win. I mean, they obviously beat us quite comfortably earlier this season at Allianz, so who knows with the A-League. I mean, look, speaking of who knows with the A-League, there's one thing we did know, and that the bragging rights in Melbourne are definitely going the way of victory this season, with 3 wins from 3 in the derbies. Sorry, Ben, you had to sit through that one. But I will say, sorry, not sorry, because you did actually get to sit through a Juan Mata masterclass. Easily his best performance in Australia since joining over a season ago.
Yeah, it was terrific.
Fantastic. I mean, that first goal.
It was fantastic.
Look,
it was good.
I want to know the difference. The first goal for Auckland against Wellington, the Gerbold Reich one for Auckland, that's gone in because the goalkeeper's just basically acted like a clown in front of goal. The Juan Mata one, and I'm not saying this because United modern day legend, and forget the fact that he's played for Wanderers and our victory, I couldn't give a shit about that. I still love the guy. Look, that goal from Mata is just class. I'm sorry, I know Beach is a little out of position and probably should do better.
But not even that. It was Ferreira who coughed it up, and this is sort of rant engaged because I was pissed when I saw this because it was a foul.
Oh,
in my opinion, that's a foul. He got pushed off the ball, and then Mata, great players score great goals, and it was right, but that's a foul, and that's what VAR is there to adjudicate, right? Victory fans come at me, but in my opinion, it was a foul, and I made my opinion pretty clear in the stands thereafter. But Patrick Beach, mate, what are you doing? The pre-match walk was half an hour before that happened, right? You do not need to come out of your area. We played Champions League on Wednesday, and you did really well. Just really piss poor, and I was furious.
Was that 9 o'clock kickoff maybe affecting your team with the fact that they had to finish a game around 11 o'clock at night? Mm-hmm.
And that's ridiculous in itself, Call it the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium, that's fine. But to schedule a game at 9 o'clock at night is nuts. Anyway, back to that opening goal.
Not just the opening goal. I mean, look, how did you see the whole game as a whole? Because watching the highlights, victory deserved the win from what I saw.
Yeah,
the highlights.
Yeah, they did, and that's why I was even more angry because Mehmeti should have had an equaliser, and so much so that I actually got out of my seat and celebrated because I actually thought, and as everybody just about up that Yarra end had thought, it had gone in. But unfortunately it didn't, and the keeper, who I realised halfway through the first half wasn't Jack Duncan. It was actually their second choice keeper who did fit.
He's played a lot for them.
That's the one. Okay, I wouldn't know that because I don't bother watching them, so unless I absolutely have to, case in point, this game. But look, that's it. Mata was fantastic. That's the only bit of credit I'm willing to give them, because we should have really, after we equalised, we should have done much better to save the game. But it really shows one important thing, and I'm going to go rant mode again because I have to. And my thoughts on how I think we'll go, in the last sort of 6 weeks of the season or whatever. If we make the finals, and that's a massive if, we're just making up the numbers. But if it means that we have a really good Champions League run, and I hope we do, then it's fine. But the thing that I sort of thought about when I got back, and I didn't, apologies guys, I didn't post anything sort of post game. I was too pissed off basically. I just needed to, I thought about it. I just thought, I'm too angry, and it was really disappointing to watch because, having such a good effort against Asian opposition 3 days ago, to turn in that. And Victory have had some good games. I'm not disputing that, but this is what I took out of it. They bought Mata, and they've got all these other players, right? And he's starring for them. We've got Matthew Leckie and Andrew Naboo. Where's our gun? Where are our star players that are going to win us games most weeks? Where are they? Citigroup.
Matthew Leckie, who's perpetually injured.
My case in point is perpetually injured. These guys can barely get on the park. And we've got Cyprian, who's 45 or whatever, who came off the bench, and he's been a warrior for us. But where are our gun marquee players? I thought Azani was okay. I thought Marcus Eunice was good. He's pretty quick, and it was good to see him in the flesh finally. I think he's going to be a great player for us for the rest of his loan spell. But that's the point, right? for a club that's meant to have all this money, why aren't we investing it in proper players who are going to actually, like we had in that year last year where we didn't have McLaren, sorry, but the years before. Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Cohen
and make a point on that. Like, what's happened to Andreas Kuhn? I thought he was meant to be your marquee player. He's been crap.
Yeah, he has, and
so average for you.
Yeah, I went to the game with Steve Marshall, and he actually said the same thing. He said Kuhn should have come on. I think they made a change. I think 60 odd minutes in, he should have come on then, and he didn't. I can't remember. I think Lapane and someone else came off, and but he should have been in that first change while the game was still live, and he didn't. So I think Vidmar's got a little bit to answer for there, but I don't want to talk too much more about this one because I've already made my feelings pretty clear. I just don't see us doing anything in the finals if we even make it. And I hope we have a great run in Asia there, I said it. So,
before we move on to the last two games, I'll just quickly touch on the fact that, you spoke about finals before. You're now 8th in the league. Due to the nature of the league, you're currently level on points with Brisbane and Mariners. You're 3 points behind MacArthur now, though that's the worry. You are starting to fall away from that top 6 a bit more now. And I've just noticed which I'm just stunned about. You actually haven't won in your last 4, of course. You've got 2 draws, 2 defeats in your last 4. You've only won 5 games in 18 so far this season.
Yeah.
That's not great, to be honest. It's not a great... I don't know where that's come from. I was surprised to see that you've only won 5 of 18. You had a strong start, but you just really tailed off since around Christmas. Really, and you've just struggled to... is it Asian competition, maybe? You don't have the deepest squad, of course. So obviously, your injuries have been an issue. Canamori's still injured, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, he is, and we missed him as well.
Yeah, do you think you can make finals, or are you starting to think it's getting further and further away?
No, based on that performance the other night, and the fact that I think we've got Buriram in the round of 16 2-leg playoff, and that's going to take its toll. And I think that's in a couple of weeks maybe. That's gonna take its toll as well. I hope they do really well in that competition. And
you're going to start paying money to go to some of these Asian Champions League games the further you progress in the tournament.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, quite possibly. But to answer your question, no, I actually don't. And to be perfectly honest, we don't deserve to. If we're not gonna, put the time into it's like the Australian T20 team the other night. We're not taking the league seriously at the expense of the AFC, and it's good in one way, but if we get knocked out in the next round, it doesn't count for much because then we're coming back into domestic football and we're shoveling shit uphill, to put another mildly. That's probably the most angry I've been on this podcast all year, I think. So, but I was really annoyed with that. It was just, especially against your biggest rival, who I don't like. To be perfectly honest, I hate losing to those pricks. I as I'm sure you do as well, but I hate it. It's just, especially if it's our away game. The only saving grace was that most of the Victory supporters near us were actually pretty fair and reasonable. So yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. We'll move on to the last 2 games then, and we'll quickly wrap this up. Look, firstly, a result I absolutely loved. Wanderers starting to get cut adrift at the foot of the table, things we love to see. Central Coast Mariners, 3 wins in a row now, that is, and they're undefeated in their last 5, I believe. So look, 3-2 win. Wanderers have... Ryan Fraser has made one of the worst moves, in my opinion, in his entire career, because that guy is way too good for how shit the team around him is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Every single week, he looks amazing for them. The rest of the team look absolute wank. Pretty much. Against us in the derby, he scored really early, really well taken goal, and basically looked frustrated for the rest of the game because he had to watch the rest of his team absolutely fuck up their game. As they've done again here. Take nothing away from Mariners, especially their first goal, Aguilar, or what his name is. What a finish that was. I just kind of lifted it, bent it past old our favourite goalkeeper to criticise and stuff, old Lawrence Thomas. I did the commentator thing there. Apologies, Tom Lawrence. You're a United youth player, so I respect you. I don't respect Lawrence Thomas. Having played for Wanderers in victory. But yeah, look, great win from the Mariners. Wanderers look absolutely shocking. They do. They really I know Mariners are in good form, but I mean, look, long may this continue for Wanderers, because if they finish bottom, it's going to be
quality.
All time. Yeah. I mean, look, how did you see that win for Mariners?
Yeah. Great for the Mariners. That sort of late drama. I agree with what you said about Fraser. Just he's almost too good for that team, really.
Yeah.
I mean, only 4,500 I'll call it Blue Tongue because that's how I remember it as. Great beer, by the way. But like James Donachie, the guy I forgot actually still played in the A-League. So, scoring the late winner. So great for them. Third gate scored early for the Wanderers. But
from Lawrence Thomas there, I have to say, good shot save, parrying a shot straight back out to the opposition player. Good on you, Lawrence Thomas. So glad you don't play for my team.
Our favourite opposition goalkeeper, and that's taken with a very big grain of salt.
Probably one of the worst keepers in the league, if not from what Josh Oluwayemi did against Auckland. But yeah, look, wrapping it up then, Newcastle winning. That's their mentality and their mantra right now, isn't it? Even though this was a far from vintage Newcastle win going off this season, typical Newcastle win, I should say, going off this season. It was just 1-0 this time, but look, and MacArthur did push them. I mean, they wasted a lot of chances. Mitch Duke should have at least had one. But look, great finish from Lachlan Bayless, they managed. Like, this is the sign of a team that's maybe destined to go on and win it this season. Is a team who's going to find a way to win, even though they're maybe not playing at their best. And I believe 6 or 7 in a row now that they've won in the league. They're in incredible form. They are.
They are.
The gap is still 4 points. Auckland are trying their best to close the gap, but I mean, at this stage, I think Newcastle have it. It just looks like they're the only team who can just consistently win games, and I think even if Auckland obviously Auckland are playing you guys next, so I mean that could be another win for Auckland. But
I think so.
Mariners in form, Newcastle in form. That could be a good F3 derby next week, to be fair.
I think so, but I think you're right on the Jets, and I'm all on them as well, and I'll tell you why. So I guess to sort of get the fans pumped and get the crowds back into McDonald Jones Stadium as they have been, you've got to bring out the big guns for your pre-match entertainment, right? So who else is bigger than Shannon Knoll, playing pre-game in the speed dealer glasses and whatever your songs is, you've got to lift, and that's exactly what the Jets have been able to do in recent weeks, and they're sticking their flag in the ground in terms of finishing, as premiers. So they're already my tip for the whole lot, really, because I've just about given up on my own side as we saw before. So, but I think they're doing fantastically well. Home form is good form. 1-0 still a win. Bayless, that was a fantastic finish, and they're starting to sort of really leave the other sides in their wake a bit more now.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, we have a team. We've been saying it for weeks now, that a team finally starts to consistently win games in the league this season. As it looks like the league's taking a bit more of a normal shape now, but the gaps are starting to open up now. So maybe there's still going to be a good end to the season for the league. Who knows? That will wrap up another review for us this week. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Of course, we've got a massive one next week. Of course, the Dare Classico is back, and next week, officially going off the Bundesliga schedule, because obviously the A-League fixtures are all over the shop, but going off the Bundesliga schedule, next week officially marks the point where we reach the games we started this podcast off at back in October, of course, if you remember that, Ben, it was the Der Klassiker week, so we're back there again.
I do remember that, yes.
Yeah, so we're back there again, everyone. For those of you who've been following us since back then in October, we are back where we started, with an even bigger Der Klassiker this time, of course, with an 8-point gap now over Dortmund. If we win this week, if we win this week, it's going to be 11 points. I said it earlier in the podcast. Is 11 going to be the point where I start to think, yeah, we've got this in the bag? I mean, I should be thinking it at 8, but, Dortmund have been very good themselves this season, so I want us to win this Der Klassiker before I can start to say it myself. And look, as for you guys, it's going to be run a lot closer, of course, so look, we'll be continuing to cover that, obviously. But yeah, look, next week, massive week in the Bundesliga again, Der Klassiker, as well as some big A-League games as well, of course. Sydney playing managerless Wellington Phoenix. Auckland looking to make it back-to-back wins against an outsourced Melbourne City. We've got Adelaide versus Victory, a big game in the top 6 at the moment.
Original rivalry, yeah.
Derby, Mariners currently just outside the top 6, but in form, and Newcastle clear at the top in very good form themselves. And even Brisbane Perth, a battle of the teams who had such a good moment in the season when they were both right up there in a potential title race and have since fallen away. So yeah, even big games there in the A-League next week, and of course Wanderers. Hopefully MacArthur can send another defeat up to Western Sydney. Yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed. We'll leave it here, and peace out. Take care, guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See you soon, guys.